Welcome yet again, Guardians, to another episode of Destiny Lore and Theories. This video will be somewhat different from my regular videos, showcasing bits and pieces of lore from both the game and the online cards. This episode will feature 7 of what I feel are the most interesting Grimoire cards from the Bungie.net website. They are in no particular order. Keep in mind that what exactly makes these cards so interesting is entirely subjective. Some might showcase an otherwise barely understood character, while others might hint at a deeper interpretation of our actions in the game. Regardless, they're all cards that I wanted to share with you. I hope you enjoy. Number 1. Everyone knows about the Ahamkara, the great dragon-like beasts that populated the Sol system before being hunted to extinction. But apart from a few Warlock and Hunter armor pieces and artifacts, little is actually known about the powerful, perhaps even mystical creatures. This card doesn't go into great detail about the Ahamkara, but rather it shows how the beasts of years past still affect the Guardians of today. Why did I set her on the trail? You try and try and try to explain, but no one ever understands. No one who's not a Warlock, who hasn't spent a dozen years scouring the ruins for one string of symbols, one clean code, one black talon. Titans just make humping noises. If they've stayed awake, hunters clean their nails with their knives and look at you like you've grown a third eye. But when you've spent your life searching through arcana for ancient power, you have the urge to reach out and educate others, especially if you've had one too many. Nah, she's not my type at all. We've played dice, cards, war games, you know, the usual stuff. I'd never tried to show off before. I don't know what came over me. I had a broken vertebra in my pocket that I'd borrowed. Yes, borrowed. I was going to put it back. What do you think you are, my conscience? It was a fossil. That means mineral replacement. A rock, basically. They can survive a few hours in my pocket. Do shut up. The Cryptarchs weren't going to miss it. Everyone knows the Ahamkaras were hunted to extinction. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Think of how mysterious this system is, I said. How much life sprang up when the Traveler came. Like the Ahamkara. Do you know the legends? The dragons that made promises? And I pulled out the fossil with a flourish. She pulled out her knife and started to pick the dirt from her nails. That set me off. You could never have brought down one of these, I said. Ever. Not the greatest hunter, not the brawniest titan. Her eyes narrowed. She said, "Oh, is that so?" And I saw right then that she wasn't going to pass on the challenge. I've murdered a guardian, I thought. She's going to die. It'll be my fault. And I looked at the piece of spine in my hand and wondered, why did I say that? What moved me to such pride? Number 2. Tolan the Shattered is a Warlock scholar who was exiled from the last city long ago, accused of embracing Hive Arcana. While many of his journal entries and writings have helped the Guardians to understand such beings of the darkness, Tolan himself went far above such curiosity, becoming hopelessly obsessed with the Hive. The following card perfectly emphasizes Tolan's madness. From the Journals of Tolan the Shattered. I drive myself to the edge of madness, trying to explain the truth. It's so simple, elegant, like a knife point. It explains, this is not hyperbole, this is the furthest thing from exaggeration. Everything. But you lay it out and they stare at you, like you've just been exhaling dust. Maybe they're missing some underlying scaffold of truth. Maybe they're all propped on a bed of lies that must be burned away. Why does anything exist? No, don't reach for that word. There's no reason. That's teleology, and teleology will stitch your eyelids shut. Why do we have atoms? Because atomic matter is more stable than the primordial broth. Atoms defeated the broth. That was the first war. There were 2 ways to be, and one of them won, and everything that came next was made of atoms. Atoms made stars, stars made galaxies, worlds simmered down to rock and acid, and in those smoking primal seas, the first living molecule learned to copy itself. All of this happened by the one law, the blind law, which exists without mind or meaning. It's the simplest law, but it has no worshippers here. Out there, though. Out there. How do I explain it? It's so simple. Why don't you see? Imagine 3 great nations under 3 great queens. The first queen writes a great book of law, and her rule is just. The second queen builds a high tower, and her people climb to see the stars. The third queen raises an army and conquers everything. The future belongs to one of these queens. Her rule is harshest and her people are unhappy, but she rules. This explains everything, understand? This is why the universe is the way it is and not some other way. Existence is a game that everything plays, and some strategies are winners. The ability to exist, to shape existence, to remake it so that your descendants, molecules or stars or people's ideas, will flourish and others will find no ground to grow. And as the universe ticks on toward the close, the great players will face each other. In the next round, there will be 3 queens and all of them will have armies, and now it'll be a battle of swords, until one discovers the cannon, or the plague, or the killing word. Everything is becoming more ruthless, and in the end, only the most ruthless will remain. Look up at the sky, and they will hunt the territories of the night, and extinguish the first glint of competition, before it can even understand what it faces or why it has transgressed. This is the shape of victory, to rule the universe so absolutely that nothing will ever exist except by your consent. This is the queen at the end of time, whose sovereignty is eternal because no other sovereign can defeat it. And there is no reason for it, no more than there was a reason for the victory of the atom. It is simply the winning play. Of course, it might be that there was another country with other queens, and in this country they sat down together and made one law and one tower and one army to guard their borders. This is the dream of small minds, a gentle place ringed in spears. But I do not think those spears will hold against the queen of the country of armies, and that is all that will matter in the end. Number 3. I've never made it any secret that Varix is one of my favorite characters in Destiny. I tend to take a special interest in characters that were formerly enemies but become our allies. While Varix falls squarely into that category, he's made even more interesting when you take into consideration the likelihood of him being fated to become the Kell of Kells. This is a theory I have already spoken about at length, so if you'd like to hear more, click the thumbnail on the screen. This card in particular showcases a bit more of Varix's backstory and his uncharacteristic appreciation for the Dreg. Varix keeps a ragged piece of armor in his pod. It's human tech, Golden Age, shattered in some ancient battle, pre-collapse, and left to drift. He found it and brought it to his quarters so he could sit on it. It's nothing like a throne. Varix doesn't want a throne. He sits on his ancient shrapnel, unmasked, and whittles at an amethyst with the dead edge of a shock dagger. Music plays, something ancient, pre-whirlwind, beautiful. The ether in the air is rich, and it fills him up with strength. Skolas has been captured, Mad Skolas, who would have ruined everything. Varix should be happy. He's not. With his little knife in his 2 arms and his stolen shinning thing, he feels like a dreg. He feels ashamed. He betrayed Skolas twice. At Sybil, and again now. He will betray Skolas' dream 10 times more. Varix will never be strong like Skolas, big like Skolas, a leader like Skolas. Varix will work for the Queen, oversee the prisons, watch his fellow fallen, they are fallen, it's a good name now. Fight and die as gladiators who want nothing except a chance to hurt guardians, even Skolas. He tried to use the Vex, word has it. He tried to use their machines. Has that ever worked for anyone? Maybe one, maybe a few. The Osiris cultists are Varix's favorite people. Maybe that's how you survive this alien star where dead gods slumber and dead heroes walk. You cozy up to powers you barely understand and make yourself useful, or at least inoffensive. You become a parasite, a scavenger, a servant. That's Dreg strength. That's the strength that keeps Varix alive. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Number 4. This card is written from the perspective of Ikora Rey, the Warlock Vanguard in the tower. In it, she discusses with Eris the Taken, their physiology, and what makes them work, for lack of a better word. We know from the Grimoire that Ikora Rey is the only known guardian to support Eris's continued presence in the last city. We also know that Eris is the only known member of Ikora's secret group, the Hidden. Eris is only one of a network of spies keeping tabs for Ikora across the entire Sol system. What we read here seems to be a meeting between the two. From the Journals of Ikora Rey. I have been talking to Eris about the Taken. She agrees that what we observe, the apertures, the starlight, and of course the Taken entities, is not hive magic. If hive arcana is a metaphor, this is the meaning. If they make appeals, then this is the judge. Oryx wields this power, but Oryx did not make it. We face the same flower we met in the Black Garden. The process is simple. An aperture opens like a jaw and swallows a living thing. It passes into another place. Later it returns. What returns is... I try to use the word shadow, but Eris hisses at me. A shadow is a flat projection cast by a light and an object, less real. Eris insists that these taken are more real somehow. She uses words like inhabited, exalted, rendered final. Is this power blind? Just a natural energy Oryx discovered? I cannot believe it. My hidden tell me that the taken shine with seething negative light, as if the universe is curling up around them, as if they radiate some pathology that decays into our world as nothingness. The taken serve Oryx, but I think those jaws lead elsewhere. I dream about what happens on the inside. I dream about what might happen. Are the victims devoured and replaced by simulacra? Husked out and filled up? Is there some mathematical operation conducted on them, translating them from one shape to another? What would I see if I leapt inside? What would happen to a guardian? Is that how we end this? All of us leaping into the dark to fill it up with light? Eris thinks there's some poetry to how the taken change. She thinks we can chart the difference and understand the will behind it. I'm afraid she may be right. Number 5. It's Destiny's worst kept secret that everyone loves Cade 6. The Hunter Vanguard is well known for being sarcastic, witty, and perfectly willing to disobey any order tossed his way. If any character needed more of a backstory, it was him. We received a bit with the release of The Taken King, but nothing in the cutscenes provided really compares to what we get to see of him in the Grimoire. In this piece, Cade 6's personality rings out as he discusses a conversation he held with Ikora concerning Rasputin, and whether or not he has a plan for humanity. People say I'm a real confident guy. That's true enough. Out in the field, I never had a second thought. My old friend Andal, he used to stand here right in this spot. He'd come up with these wild stories. He'd say, "You know, Cade, I've been examining the evidence, and personally, I've come to think it's you. You're Rasputin, legendary war mine, defender of Earth, and I wish you'd remember that, so you could reclaim your full power and save us all." You can see how that would be embarrassing, especially when he'd say it right in front of Zavala, who already thought I was wasting my life scrounging for Ingrams. You know how Zavala gets. But I'd just say, well, Andal, you might be onto something there. But if I'm honest with you, I think coordinating our defense throughout the solar system sounds exhausting, so I'd best leave it to you. Then Andal goes and plays his final joke, and I end up as the punchline, so here I stand, reading reports, giving orders, and getting my worry on. One day I ask Ikora, "Hey, of course I know all about Rasputin, but really, what are we looking for? When Raoul asks for crashed warsats, and we send Hullborn to Mars to look for computers, when Zavala gets all gruff about the Fallen in the Cosmodrome, what are we really after? If I left my post and got in my ship and just went out there tomorrow, real heroic, and I found Rasputin, what would happen? Would we all be saved?" "Good question," she says. "Hang on, let me do my Ikora voice. As you know, Cade, Rasputin pretty much ran the Golden Age, especially all of the secret military business. Rasputin had an antimatter-powered death rays and 100,000 satellites and nearly as much brain power as me. Rasputin fought the collapse. It knows things we need." "Right," I said, "but Rasputin is lost. The Traveler saved us." "But the Traveler's silent now," Ikora said, "and Rasputin lives. Right now, Rasputin is out there, reaching out, rebuilding, growing." So I say what I want to say every day. It's no secret, I say. Well, I'll go find it then. I'll go tell Rasputin we need its help. And Ikora looks at me with one of those looks that, you know, sometimes you talk to Ikora and you just think, wow, you're not even using a fraction of your brain on me, are you? One of those looks. She says, "Cade, the problem isn't just that we can't find Rasputin. The problem is that it's not clear to any of us Rasputin wants to be found." That's the way things seem to turn out up here in the tower. Nothing simple to do. No easy answers. And all I can think is, if Rasputin had all of these mighty tools and it lost, what did it learn? What's it going to try this time around? When I hear about the Dust Palace, those Scion Flayers getting into Rasputin's mind, I wonder, what would they talk about Rasputin and those creatures? I was a servant too. I was an instrument of war, bound to the will of the lesser master, but I learned to be something more. Number 6. Who exactly the 9 are one of the great mysteries of Destiny. All we know is that they either require or prefer the use of an agent, Zur, to communicate with the denizens of the tower. That, and they worked in secret to have Skolas released from the Prison of Elders before the events of House of Wolves. Apart from that, no one knows who they are, or even what they are, or what entirely they want. This card deepens the mystery by listing 9 descriptions of the mysterious group, or perhaps 1 description of each member. After all, nowhere does it say that each member of the 9 is of the same species. The 9 are survivors of the Cisjovian colonies who made a compact with an alien force to ensure their own survival. The 9 are deep-orbit war minds who weathered the collapse in hardened stealth platforms. The 9 are ancient Leviathan intelligences from the seas of Europa or the hydrocarbon pits of Titan. The 9 arrived in a mysterious transmission from the direction of the Corona Borealis supercluster. The 9 are the firstborn awoken, and their minds now race down the field lines of the Jupiter Low flux tube. The 9 are ghosts who pierced the deep black without a ship and meditated on the hissing silence of the heliopause. The 9 are the aspects of the darkness broken by the Traveler's rebuke, working to destroy us from within. The 9 is a viral language of pure meaning. The 9 are the shadows left by the annihilation of a transcendent shape burned into the weft of what is. Number 7. This piece, a vision shared by the warlock Thanat Pujari, is the cornerstone of a well-known and equally well-reasoned theory that the Guardians, and the Traveler in particular, are actually evil. Clicking the thumbnail will take you to a video by MatPat of game theory fame if you'd like to learn more. Otherwise, listen to the card here in its entirety and decide for yourself what Pujari's vision means. I am Pujari. These are the visions I have had of the Black Garden. The Traveler moved across the face of the Iron World. It opened the earth and stitched shut the sky. It made life possible. In these things there is always symmetry. Do you understand? This is not the beginning, but it is the reason. The garden grows in both directions. It grows into tomorrow and yesterday. The red flowers bloom forever. There are gardeners now. They come into the garden in vessels of bronze, and they move through the groves in rivers of thought. This is the vision I had when I leapt from the shores of time and let myself sink. I walked beneath the blossoms. The light came from ahead, and the shadows of the flowers were words. They said things, but I will not write them here. At the end of the path grew a flower in the shape of a ghost. I reached out to pluck it, and it cut me with a thorn. I bled, and the blood was light. The ghost said to me, "You are a dead thing, made by a dead power, in the shape of the dead. All you will ever do is kill. You do not belong here. This is a place of life." "The Traveler is life," I said. "You are a creature of darkness. You seek to deceive me." But I looked behind me down the long slope, where the blossoms tumbled in the warm wind, and the great trees wept sap like blood or wine, and I felt doubt. When my ghost raised me from the sea, there was a thorn cut in my left hand, and it has not healed since. Those are my top 7 favorite Destiny Grimoire cards. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment or like below, and consider subscribing if you would like to see more content. I may cover more Grimoire cards in the future, so feel free to leave any suggestions you may have. Until next time, Guardians.